Today what I'm going to be doing is showing you guys 5 of the hardest decisions or choices that have to be made in Fallout 4. Obviously this type of video is totally subjective. Some of you guys are going to find other things super hard, but I think we could all agree the decisions and choices I show you in this video were difficult. Fallout 4 is pretty consistently criticized for its story and really lack of good RPG elements, but one thing I think it actually did get fairly right is a lot of these choices. There's a lot of times in the game when you're really caught between either A and B and you don't know which way to go with that. Again, the 5 I'm showing you in this video are totally my own opinion. They're the things I personally found to be very difficult as I was playing through the game. If you guys do enjoy this type of content though, you can leave a like or a comment on this video. I would love to see what your guys' hardest decisions in the game were, so you could comment those down below, like one quest or one choice you had to make throughout the game that really stood out to you. In addition, if you are interested in supporting the channel even further, I do have a merch store with a few different things on there. There will be a link to that down below also. With all that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and we're just going to jump straight into it. Starting off, we actually have Pikmin's Gallery and really the fate of Pikmin himself. So if you don't know, Pikmin's Gallery is going to be a location in Fallout 4, as you could probably guess. At some point, you're going to get one of those miscellaneous quests requesting you to investigate the gallery. You basically overhear some people talking. It's not really a main quest, but one of those more minor ones. Then you actually do stumble upon Pikmin's Gallery and you find it surrounded by raiders. There's actually a ton of raiders crawling all over and in this place. After clearing out some of those raiders and exploring the gallery itself, you find that it's not as pleasant of a gallery as you probably expected. It's actually a pretty scary and demonic looking place. You find bodies placed all over the place as well as very weird art pieces, and a lot of those bodies of raiders aren't from you. They were actually there before you even got there. In addition, when you actually go into the building and you hear some of those raiders talking, they are looking for Pikmin. It seems like they too are after him.
You think we're gonna catch this Pikmin psycho?
The slippery bastard got away before, but Slab won't leave a man breathing after he's hunted our crew.
I heard Pikmin skinned Roy alive after he snatched him. Let the rats get at him. Gives me the creeps just thinking about it.
You hear me, Pikmin?
No joke.
You're a
The
dead
faster
man.
we clip this asshole, the better. Always feels like something's
Pikmin,
watching me.
you can't hide down there forever.
Well, to make a long story short, more or less what's going on in Pikmin's Gallery is Pikmin is a serial killer in Fallout 4. He's been taking raiders and actually doing pretty messed up things to them, as you could see by some of the artwork and decorations he does have throughout his gallery. And with that, he's obviously pissed off quite a few different raiders in the Commonwealth because, well, he's taking some of their friends. The hard choice here becomes, what do you let happen to Pikmin? Obviously, as you're going through this building, you're immediately kind of taking down all the raiders because it's what's natural to you. As you do work your way throughout the building and actually get to the final spot there, you actually have a few options, either letting the raiders themselves take down Pikmin. You could take down the raiders and then let Pikmin live, or you could take down the raiders and then proceed to take down Pikmin also. This is a hard choice because all throughout Fallout 4, you're so accustomed to raiders are bad, you should end them. Even as you clear out this building, they're automatically aggro to you. Your response is just going to be to shoot back, not to think about it. But as you do progress through the building, taking down raider after raider, you start to realize, hey, this guy actually killed all of their friends and that's why they're here. Even though they are your enemy, it's something you could sympathize with. So when you actually get faced with that final decision at the end, and you only have a few seconds to choose what you're going to do, whether that be look away and let the raiders do their deed, or actually intervene and potentially save, or take Pikmin for yourself, I personally found myself in quite the conundrum. I feel like the real hard decision here is made by the game. You're so accustomed to hating raiders that in this event, even though you probably should side with them, it's almost a hard choice to make.
That was close.
Similar to Pikmin, you also have the fate of Kasumi Nakano. This is actually the quest that you do to start off the Far Harbor DLC, so I imagine many of you guys have experienced it. If you haven't though, Far Harbor is probably some of the best story for Fallout 4, and I would definitely recommend buying it. It's the best DLC for Fallout 4. And this quest in particular, if you haven't played it, I don't want to spoil it for you, just skip ahead in the video, because this truly is a memorable one. Either way, the way this works is, as you do start the Far Harbor DLC, you'll go to this house and find out these people's daughter, Kasumi, has gone missing. As you proceed to Far Harbor itself, you'll discover that Kasumi believes she's a synth. With this belief, she went to a synth refugee camp that in Acadia. The decision here becomes difficult for a number of reasons. First and foremost, Kasumi's a young girl. She's actually only age 19, but in-game she feels significantly more immature than that, still living with her parents, and her parents having already lost so much, it feels truly wrong to actually keep her away from that family. At the same time, you have to sympathize with Kasumi here. If she truly is a synth, that false love her parents are giving to her isn't really meant for her. It's meant for the real Kasumi, not the synth version. In addition, she seems to truly believe she's a synth. Although yes, you can persuade her, these are conclusions she reached on her own and she deserves to have somewhat of her own freedoms. The true difficulty with this comes in the sense that you don't actually know if Kasumi is a synth or not. You have to make this choice as to whether let her be free in Acadia or actually return her to her parents based on some of the other evidence around you. The game doesn't force your hand, it never actually gives you a definitive answer. That's the hard decision, but actually to build off of that, the game does give you a pretty definitive answer, but it's only in one avenue. If you go back to the Institute, you can actually ask someone if they ever heard of a synth named Kasumi.
There's still the issue of this girl, Kasumi. She thinks she's a synth.
I can tell you that she's not one of ours. I mean, if she's a synth, obviously she belongs to the Institute, but I have no record of an asset deployed with that identity.
They're going to tell you no, indicating that she is probably not a synth, but even a little bit worse, if you choose to side against Acadia and kill everyone within it, after clearing out the place and walking up to Kasumi's body, you'll find that she does not have a synth component while nearly everyone else does. But again, unless you played through the game already, you'll never know this when having to decide the fate of Kasumi. This one's a little bit different, but next we do have special. So special, or strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck, are the things you can devote perk points into at the start of the game and throughout the game as a whole. Fallout 4 actually has significantly less points. You actually start the game with 1 point in each, so even though technically you do have 28 points total at the start of the game, you only have 21 of those that you can actually assign yourself. The reason this is so difficult is compared to previous Fallouts, notably New Vegas and Fallout 3, you have way less points in Fallout 4. Again, you have 28 total, 21 that you can actually control, while other games you had 40 that you could do anything with. There's no more of that, oh, I'll just do everything at 5 and start the game off on a blanket scale like you could do in previous games. In Fallout 4, you truly have to decide. One of the things in the special tree is going to have 1 or 2 perks devoted to it, because you typically are going to want to have to put a lot of those perk points into other categories. This is only furthered by the fact that in order to actually get access to perks now, you do need a certain level in the special tree. As you level up and go further and further throughout the game, obviously this is somewhat mediated, but at the early levels, your access to different parts of the game and skill systems in general are really tied to how you allotted these special points at the first moments of the game. Then we do have the decision as to what you're going to do with Billy, the kid in the fridge. So the kid in the fridge is a side quest in Fallout 4. More or less, you're going to find a little fridge that does have a person sitting inside of it. He does say he's been in there for 200 years, and after letting him out, he's going to request that you take him back to his family. Shortly down a path there, you're actually going to find a random encounter with a raider. He's going to ask you to sell Billy into slavery. Now, this is a very difficult decision, or at least it was for me. On one hand, you know, what you probably should do is return Billy to his house. It's the moral thing to do and the right thing to do, but it's a video game. And you have this raider offering to buy the kid off of you for a fairly large sum. Depending on how many speech checks you get through, you can actually get up to 500 caps for him. In reality, you don't even know if Billy's family still exists. I mean, likely they don't. But at the same time, I still felt a moral dilemma here. Do you sell this random kid that you just found in a fridge into slavery, or do you take him back to his parents, where you'll seemingly get no caps? It truly is a greed versus doing the right thing decision, and it was one that I personally struggled with quite a bit, so in the end I ended up just killing everyone. Then we do have the Battle of Bunker Hill. This is one of the major turning point quests in Fallout 4 where you have to make true decisions with true consequences on the major factions. So the way this quest works is Father's going to ask you to go to Bunker Hill and actually reclaim some escaped synths. Those synths are currently under the protection of the railroad, and as you do approach this location, there's going to be a fight. After taking this quest, you actually have 2 other options with 2 other factions though. It's not just an Institute quest. From there, you can actually talk to Elder Maxon, the head of the Brotherhood of Steel, and he's going to ask you to flat out kill the synths when the opportunity arises, but otherwise largely just be with the Institute on your way there. But there is another optional part where you can talk to Desdemona and actually turn on the Institute there and side with the railroad. Those are 2 options. You don't actually have to talk to either of those other faction leaders, but when you actually arrive at Bunker Hill and the battle does begin, you will quickly realize that the railroad and the Brotherhood of Steel are also there in addition to the Institute coursers that you're with. After fighting your way through, you will actually come to the synths where you get even a 3rd option. Here, the synths are going to offer you a measly 60 caps to let them live. From that point forward, you can obviously choose to kill them, you can choose to turn on the courser and let the synths free, or you could just kill everyone there, including the synths that you're supposed to reclaim, as well as the courser who did escort you. Depending on how you handle this situation and who you choose to side with or who you choose to kill, you actually can get permanently alienated from either the Institute or from the Railroad. This is a hugely consequential quest, and the decisions you make here pretty much guide you into the final choices you do have towards the end of the game. I know for a lot of people, myself included, it was one of the most memorable quests throughout all of Fallout 4 because again, there's so much going on, there's a nice big conflict which is enjoyable to experience, but also you do have a true decision as to what you want to do with these escaped synths. Do they have their own rights? Do they deserve the freedoms, or are they property of the Institute? That's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. Again, if you guys enjoyed this content, I would love to see a like or a comment on the video. It really does help me out. And also, if you want to comment some more hard decisions in Fallout 4 down below, I'd love to make a follow-up to this video with even some of the more hardest decisions in the game. But of course, before we conclude, we also do have today's psych fun fact of the day. And what it's going to be about is delaying of gratification. So more or less what that means is basically allowing yourself or being physically able to put off a reward after doing an action. It's something that you largely are kind of born with, or something that you'll find out about yourself at a very young age. There's been many studies and experiments conducted about this. Take for example, if you're a kid, will you take 1 cookie now or 2 cookies in an hour from now? If you take 2 cookies an hour from now, you will have a strong or be able to delay gratification. Well, more or less, people that can do this do show to be way more successful in life. Not to some insane degree, but to a fairly significant degree. People good or able to delay gratification have high correlation with career success, academic success, and all around just financial success in life. Makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Studying now may not immediately make me get a good grade, but in a few days it might make me get a good grade. Being able to understand and recognize that and actually put in the time and effort now for rewards later is something that typically translates to success in life. One of the interesting parts about this today even is it's actually been a major problem for especially younger people. With things like Instagram, Facebook, social media in general, there's such that need for instant gratification. I post a video on YouTube and within minutes hundreds of people have viewed it and tens have actually liked it. You could translate that to other aspects also. Twitter, Instagram, things are really happening only within 12 hours. Once your image is 12 hours old, there's not going to be many more likes. A lot of people are theorizing that newer generations do actually have a worsening ability to delay gratification, which could have pretty scary long-term benefits or cons. Yeah, so we're just gonna wrap it up for this video. As always, again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you all next time.